Oh, that field is getting so checked up. I think someone whacked the back of Halterman's car. It looked like the 07 had a bit of rear end damage. That also might have just been the angle I was looking at it, though.
It looks fine on mine.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We are still live here from Talladega Superspeedway in this Alabama 199. Caution came out back on lap 10. A bit of contact between Daniel Hunter and Alex Finnerty, to my understanding. That is about the only thing you've really missed so far. Otherwise, on this caution cycle, a few cars came down pit road, or a number of cars came down pit road. Few of them stayed out. But ultimately, still here, plenty of racing to go. So don't go anywhere just yet. We are back in business here and ready to get back to racing at Talladega once again.
Absolutely, we got a good little taste there of what we can expect for the rest of this race as the sort of center section of the race drags on. We're still in a point of the race where we could see one stop to split the last part of the race, maybe even two for some of the guys if they stay out front for the whole run. Going to burn a lot of fuel. It's going to be pretty tricky for those guys to save gas throughout today's festivities.
And that's one of the things that is a really interesting part of Talladega, more than any other track on the schedule, is that because of how influential the draft is here, cars like, second, third, fourth in line really don't have to use a ton of fuel. They can not necessarily half throttle, but they don't necessarily need to be full throttle the entire time to maintain pace with that pack there. So if they want to save fuel that way, they can. The leaders, though, will be going full send into the wind at any given point in time. And they'll be burning a lot more fuel than those behind them. So while you want that track position, you want to be out front, if it comes down to a fuel situation, it does become really tricky, and you might see some drivers have to step out of line and file themselves back in trying to save some fuel so they don't have to go 100% on the throttle the whole way around.
Absolutely, and it's really, if you're anywhere from sixth on back, then that's where you can really start to save. But if you're within that top five, you're, like you said, you're pretty much full throttle all the way around the track. So there's really not much saving to be done if you're that far up. So you just gotta take what you can get. Like I said earlier in pre-race, you can't lead every lap here. It's just simply not gonna work if we have a long enough green flag run. You're gonna have to pit sooner than everybody else. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah, and that does become rather tricky. Obviously, still a little too early to tell if that's going to be something that presents itself here tonight. But it is definitely something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind here is not everyone came down pit road at that stop, so you're seeing a few more cars cycle to the front who weren't there necessarily at the time. The things I'm looking at here: two Penn College Technology cars inside the top five. Can those two machines get hooked up and make their way toward the front?
It's gonna be tricky. We saw the top line get a really good launch on the last restart, so it's gonna be tricky. And those lines were very, very compact and very close together. So it's gonna be hard to see if Michael can try and get up to join Austin, or if Austin can maybe get down to the bottom to join Michael there. It's certainly going to be something to watch, see if they even try and attempt to do that, or if they just let it ride for a bit.
Yeah, I know they were nose to tail on the opening bit of the race here, but will they be able to find themselves now in opposite lanes? That does become the question. Pace car right now leading the cars through turns 3 and 4. We're just about to get racing here once again at Talladega. Your top 10 as they run: Lucas Moody and Sky Shrek, row 1. Tim Robb and Austin DeLong, row 2. Michael Sidor, Matt Burton, row 3. Nathan Inman and Mason Enriquez, row 4, and then Jake Cummings and Jake Weist, row 5. So it looks like the pace car is going to make their slow peel off down pit road, and quite the long run up here to get to the Geico restart zone. It'll be Ball State on the inside. It'll be the University of Oklahoma on the outside. Definitely a good bit of separation between the two lines here, a full lanes gap as they make their way through the tri-oval. Green flags back in the air. A big shot from Tim Robb to the back bumper of Lucas Moody, and we are racing once again at Talladega.
Huge shot to Moody there from Tim Robb. He really wanted to get that bottom lane moving. Not as much organization on top. Burton didn't quite get the restart that maybe Austin DeLong would have wanted him to. Those guys are going to drop back a little bit. Looks like the top 3 on the bottom are going to clear.
So here they go now, rumbling onto the backstretch. About a couple of cars of separation from that inside line from the outside, but the outside making a good run back up on that high side. The 43 of Sky Shrek leading that line. They are doing a good job so far. They restarted first on that outside, holding serve out there, but trying to will that front line back because they were not nearly as organized as the inside on that restart. Lucas Moody and Tim Robb really got that thing hooked up, and Michael Sidor, Nathan Inman, and Jay Cummings have really done the rest of the work there, filing in behind and making sure that inside line isn't going to be losing any momentum. The draft is so finicky at tracks like this. You really got to be able to be nose to tail. Every little shake of the car is going to disrupt that airflow and really make it hard to keep that speed up, as a third line actually is developing farther back in the field. So it's going to get really dicey from about 15th on back as someone's spinning.
He saved it. He holds on to it. Matthew Burton got turned a little bit sideways. He's going to hang on to it. He's going to lose a lot of spots, so he's going to rejoin the track in turn 3 just behind our pack.
He's going to lose the draft, unfortunately, for ECSU, but at least he's going to keep it off the wall and give himself a fighting chance should the caution come back together. We'll try and find a replay for it if we've got a second here. Meanwhile, back up front, the outside line has disappeared. They've fallen all the way back to almost outside the top 10. But let's take a look and see what happened to Burton. He's that car trying to drift down to the inside here and just wasn't fully clear yet.
It's really unfortunate. Again, these guys are making lots of moves, trying to find their draft partners that they may have been practicing with, trying to get into position to make some moves very early in the race. But these guys, they're racing. They want to lead the race. I know I was saying you don't want to be in front the whole time, but you do. You're a race car driver. You gotta race.
The crew chief may want something slightly different from what the driver wants, but deep in the back of your brain, if you are driving one of these cars, the thing you want to be doing is out front leading the way. As now we see actually Colin Kolpa from Indiana leading that outside on a fierce charge. They've rallied themselves all the way back up alongside the 15 of Michael Sidor. So Lucas Moody and Tim Robb about to have some company potentially from the Indiana machine, as those 4 or 5 cars on the outside were really bunched together, and then they all fanned out coming off of turn 2. And that's what's been making it so tough for this outside lane to maintain any sort of momentum and get up to the leaders, is that there's that extra lane outside of you. So if you think you have a run, you can take it, but then it destroys the speed on both of those lanes.
Certainly. That's the thing with this next gen car, like Tim was talking about in his interview before the race. The side draft is that much stronger in these cars, and it makes it that much harder for a second lane or a third lane to get started, because they need that much more help to be able to break free of the side draft and to get moving and make these second line work. But they've got lots of help up top there, and it looks like the 074 of Timothy Moore is going to clear Culpa.
That middle line all of a sudden has disappeared. Here comes last week's winner and the Daytona 250 winner on a huge charge on the outside. He is at the door of Lucas Moody for the lead. Matthew Morton punting that machine forward. 3 playoff drivers in a row there, with Drew Williams just behind them. Tim Robb right now trying to shove Lucas Moody for all he's worth right now, trying to get that 21 to keep that nose ahead of the 074, but they are going to be side by side going through the tri-oval, and it's going to actually be Tim Moore who takes the lead here going on the lap 18.
Tim Moore went from 10th to 1st in that lap. I noticed him when we were talking about getting that third lane started. It was Tim Moore, it was Drew Williams, and Robbie Vrabel were lined up 1, 2, 3 up on that top lane, and they just started trucking and moved right up to the front there with the help of Matthew Morton also. They just were moving up top there, and that's a really nice thing, is when you can get that third lane moving, it's really hard to stop it without blocking them.
Yeah, so now Tim Moore and Matt Morton trying to defend the bottom. Drew Williams and Robbie Vrabel Jr. running that high line there. Tim Robb has cycled back to that third car on the outside. Meanwhile, back third car on the inside. Lucas Moody is Drew Williams with a heavy block there, jumping in front of Tim Moore. Didn't think he had the clearance, but both of those cars kept it forward, so I guess there was enough room. Just tough angle from what we were looking at. But now Robbie Vrabel Jr. on the outside looking to take the lead as they make their way off of 2.
Certainly. It looked like Drew maybe got a little bit loose from a push there from Robbie as they came off turn 4, but he held on to it and he was able to just sneak down in front of a Tim Moore there. So very, very hard racing here at the front of the pack. Very entertaining.
Yeah, I think all these drivers are really willing to push each other and trying to send them forward. And I think there's just a lot of trust there, thinking that they can all handle it. So Drew Williams running from the lead here on lap 19, about to be lap 20. So Clemson University, and then it's Manhattanville and Ohio State, your top 3 as they run. Oh, heavy contact there for Major Monsivice, Texas A&M into the outside wall. Looked like someone may have been spinning through the inside as well, but that 041 hammered that wall going through the tri-oval.
That was a lot of contact there.
Not sure if the 041 had any sort of help or not, but yeah, no caution. Looks like they're going to...
If we can.
Yeah, looks like we'll try and find a replay of that if possible. Meanwhile, back up front, though, it's still those 3 cars of Williams, Moore, and Morton with a bit of separation, but the front pack has started to separate a little bit from the back of the field. There's about, say, 15 to 20 cars in this lead pack before a massive gap back to the next cars.
Absolutely. These guys are getting very racy up front and maybe calming down just a little bit, so we got a little bit of a single file working out here.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replay to see what happened to the 041 of Major Monsivice here. So you see that Toyota Camry poking out here, that red and white car as they make their way in the 1, and man, that car, the slams. I wonder if there was some contact there, because that does not look like a natural turning motion at all.
Not at all.
It was hard to tell if there was any contact who it would have been with.
Yeah, it's hard to see there, but yeah, that's very unfortunate.
And
that's
now
the thing with these plate races. You can have these little incidents like that that don't really take you out of it, or that won't cause a caution so that you can get your car fixed, but they'll just take you out of contention and you're just left to pace around at the back of the pack like this. It's very unfortunate end Tuesday.
Yeah, it really is. Speaking of pacing around at the back of the pack, Jared Kaler has just gone a lap down here from the leaders. He is that green and black car up at the outside wall. Speaking of which, Alex Hallinar slammed the outside wall as we were saying it. So, yeah, Kaler there on the number 1 car was the car we were talking about being a lap down. The other green and black car of Binghamton University's Alex Hallinar absolutely hammered that wall on the backstretch. But once again, we continue to stay green.
Looks like pretty heavy damage on the 057, but he's seems to be keeping pace decently. I wonder how much that may have hurt the engine, though, as guys are kind of balling up behind him. But
yeah, Andrew Stagey's trying to punt that 057 as much as he can.
It's not much to do there. Yeah, he's losing speed.
Something's going on in front of him.
Trouble in front. 020 or 21, excuse me, involved. A leaf through the glass. Tim Robb missing his front bumper. That's very unfortunate for the playoff driver.
Sky Shrek deep into the infield there as well. Cautions out here for the second time tonight on lap 23. We were looking a little farther back from where it occurred, but with the names you mentioned there, Zach, it sounds like one that was happening inside at least the top 20, maybe inside the top 10.
Certainly inside the top 10. Robbie Vrabel involved, Alif involved, Tim Robb. Pretty big wreck here.
Yeah, there was a number of cars there. The camera swung around, and it looked like the junk pile had amassed in turn 1. I mean, there must have been 5 or 6 cars there, excuse me.
Easily, 6 or 7 at least. The 43 car is well involved. Just a huge wreck. Vrabel, the 21 of Lucas Moody, Alif. A couple playoff drivers in Alif and Tim Robb involved. Looks like Culpa just managed to escape it without any trouble, but that's 2 playoff drivers now in a pretty bad spot in this race.
Yeah, you see Andrew Stagey and Thomas Toomey there on your screen. Both of those drivers got through the incident relatively unscathed, it looks like, or at least their cars seem to be handling fine as they make their way back up toward the leaders. We'll take a look at the replay there in just a moment, but Zach, you got to imagine that anyone who didn't come down pit road on lap 11, you think they're thinking about it here on 24?
I think so. I think at this point in the race, it'd be worth coming down pit road, fill it up, and then you can almost certainly split it in a 2-stop from this point. Before, if you were staying out, even if you were pitting on that last caution, if it went green, you were probably gonna have to make 2 stops anyway. But now, being at lap 24, I think if these guys get down pit road now, fill it up, I think we can probably see a 1-stop if we do get a green flag run to the end.
So right now, pit stops underway here. You see everyone kind of fit in their box. Matt O'Brien, Thomas Toomey, Colin Kolpa, Nathan Inman, Jason Wallet, everyone coming down pit road except for the couple of cars who may have stayed out early. Up front, you see our pole sitter there and Jake Cummings. Looks like the first car up actually is going to be Nick Budemlik from St. John's. Nathan Inman with a good release off of pit road. So a huge jump there for the 67 of Nicholas Budemlik. He'll move up a ton of positions there. I see Colin Kolpa, Andrew Stagey coming off of pit road there. Looks like a bit of a slower stop potentially for Vrabel and for Sky Shrek. Shrek obviously getting that car repaired. Not sure what the holdup is there for the 075 unless there's also damage to that machine.
I believe Vrabel was also involved. I think he was the initial car that actually got turned to start that wreck. I think we'll be looking at a replay here in a minute. Yeah, lots of guys having to take some extra time in the pits and fix some damage. But we'll also see some guys staying out, or not staying out, excuse me, not changing tires. That's the thing with super speedway racing. They don't burn tires as quick here. The tire wear isn't exactly a huge factor in terms of performance here. It's more so on the engine.
Gotcha. Well, let's take a look at the replay here to see what brought out the caution a couple laps ago that collected both of the cars you see on your screen here.
All right, so we can see they're coming down into turn 1. We're 3 wide. And it looks like Moody gets bumped up the track into Vrabel, who comes back down into Shrek, and that's a couple of pretty hard hits there for a few of these guys. Just an unfortunate wreck here.
Yeah. That was that's even one of those ones where it just happens so fast that you can't react to it. Like if you're Robbie Vrabel, I mean, you're just before you know it, you're turned. And if you're Sky Shrek, I mean, you're literally driving on the yellow line there, minding your own business, and then a split second later, you're going full speed, looking up at the outside retaining wall. I mean, that's just a tough break for all of those drivers. And they were running up inside the top 10, so a couple of really fast cars taken out here before even the 1/3 mark of this race. So it will have some new folks inherit the positions up front, especially with that race off of pit road. Looks like 9 cars had stayed out. Drew Williams, Michael Sidor, Thomas Toomey, Zach Tallman, Ryan Whitlock, Austin DeLong, Dylan Godinez, Tristan Leclerc, and Nick Stockner all staying out. The first car off of pit road was Nicholas Budemlik from St. John's, who's back in row 5. So only one playoff driver currently scored in the top 10 because he didn't come down pit road, and a whole host of cars that we don't normally see up in the top 10 now who will be taking the restart up front.
Certainly. It's it really shook up the field here. It's as you see pretty often with these mid-race cautions, they can really mix things up. Got a couple of Orange Wheel Racing teammates that are lined up on the inside, so you could probably see those guys working together pretty well. Not from the same college, of course, but teammates outside of the collegiate space. And then we got a few Penn College cars lined up up top. I see there. We got 3 Penn College cars.
How do they make that happen? Michael Sidor, Zach Tallman, Austin DeLong, 1, 2, 3 on that out, and Dylan Godinez. They've got all 4 of them on the outside row. How do they swing that, I wonder? So it's going to be Penn College of Technology versus the world here on this restart. This is a huge opportunity for the PCT cars to make their way out front if they really get a good jump and sync it up. We could be seeing some potential Storthaus Racing 2018 stuff where they just drove away from the field, but they'll be making their way through turns 3 and 4, and they'll be restarting in just a moment.
Certainly. It's going to be very interesting to see what those guys can do. Restarting, taking the first 4 rows of that top lane. But again, we've got Drew Williams, won the Gen 4 CIL Cup Series Championship over the summer. See what he can do here in the next gen here at Talladega with Thomas Toomey restarting right behind him. See if he can get a good shot.
Yeah, Drew Williams, a two-time CIL winner. Michael Seidor is still looking for that first career victory. Green flag back in the air and the inside line. Not nearly enough cars, but they got a good enough jump to at least give them a chance here. But the PCT cars are going to be roaring through turns 1 and 2 with how lined up they are.
Absolutely. Those two, I'd be worried if I was Drew Williams and Thomas Toomey. They got a pretty big lead here on the restart. And here come the Penn College cars as they come off turn 2. They got a huge run. Those 4 cars all lined up, nose to tail up on that top lane. No move to block it from the guys on the bottom. They both know it's pretty early in the race to be making those kind of moves. Drew and Thomas Toomey are going to stay down on the bottom. Tallman is going to look up top. A little bit of contact.
Whoa.
Oh, it's getting a little squirrely. And here comes Matthew Morton up on top in that 13 car.
Matthew Morton with help from Tim Robb out there on the outside trying to put the Penn College Technology cars back into the middle of this field. Looks like they're going to be able to do that for now, and all of this is going to let Drew Williams escape just a little bit here. But 3 wide as they go into turn 1 here. I mean, just look at this going in 3 by 3 by 3 for God knows how many rows.
I think it's safe to say these guys they didn't get too scared from that big wreck we saw take out a few playoff contenders. That's 2 playoff guys on the front leading the top and bottom lanes here. We'll make that 3, excuse me, with Tim Moore up on the top line as well. A little bit of shuffling in the middle. Oh, good, very good racing. 1, 2, 3. It's all playoff drivers right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things. They say fortune favors the bold. Although at this point, with it only being lap 28, is this bold or is this reckless? So I guess we'll find out if they can keep it all in one piece here. Still 3 wide throughout parts of the field here. Looks like the Penn College cars are going to try and jump up to the high lane. Dylan Godinez couldn't quite get up there in time with the rest of the group, but Seidor, Tallman, and DeLong all made their way up there. Now Godinez looks to slide himself in on the outside. The inside little group has broken away. Or no, sorry, they've actually fallen back. So that outside line completely swallowed up the momentum the inside line had. Now Matthew Morton up there with Tim Moore and Nathan Inman from Clemson is your current top 3. And then you've got the 66 of Mason Enriquez in 4th.
Absolutely. We saw a couple cars try and make it 3 wide through the middle to take the lead of that bottom lane. And it seemed to kill the momentum that bottom lane had. And it allowed the top lane to scoot right on by. And now we got some new guys up front. We got Matthew Morton is going to lead lap 30.
I want to issue a quick apology to the driver of the 66. It is Oscar Enriquez, George Mason University. That's where I was pulling the Mason from. My apologies. So Oscar Enriquez currently scored inside the top 5 here for GMU. But back up front, Tim Morton, Tim Moore. These 2 cars have been nose to tail here for most of this race. And Tim Moore knows how to get it done on super speedways. He won at Daytona in the season opener. He also won last week at Kansas. So he's already locked in. So he's probably not too worried about his result tonight, more of just trying to figure out who will be racing against come Homestead. But Nathan Inman now, the Clemson machine, trying to jump to the outside, looking for the lead here. Let's see if the Penn College of Technology cars are going to work with him or not.
It's hard to say. Those guys... Oh, and we got one around.
Whoa!
Michael Sider. Oh, it's a big...
Oh, there goes half the field.
Oh,
Tragedy
no.
up front. A bit of a mistimed push from the 2 Penn College of Technology cars. Around goes the 15 of Michael Seidor, and he took at least a third of that outside line with him.
That's very tough. Matthew Burton involved, the ETSU driver. Oh, that's very unfortunate to see. Right as we were starting to see some guys maybe start to try out that 3rd lane, some drama. Someone, it looked like from the middle, got turned down. And that's just a recipe for disaster with how formed up that bottom lane was.
Yeah, we saw that people were starting to get really aggressive, and to the point you made earlier, no one seemed particularly fazed about the caution that happened about 8-9 laps ago. And here we are, history repeating itself.
Absolutely. Race car drivers don't really learn. We especially in iRacing, there's we got no physical consequence. We'll just there's a huge wreck. It took out everyone before. Surely that can't happen to me. So we just we like to just send it as much as we can. There's no sense of preservation.
You know,
everyone wants to lead.
Everyone wants
love
to
it.
lead, and even though it's lap 32, no one is going to say, well, I'll let you have it and then work my way on back, because you never know when that opportunity may present itself once again. So tough break there. We're working on a replay to take a look at what happened, but I don't know, outside of cars coming down to get damage repaired, I don't know how many takers we'll have for pit road. Replay is ready to go here. Let's take a look to see what happened at the front of the field between the two Penn Tech cars.
Absolutely. Looks like as we come down past the trioval, Tallman took a look to the inside and looked like he caught the left rear of Sider, and that's a lot of cars involved. A few Penn Tech college cars, the ETSU driver Matthew Morton, Athena Leclerc involved. Oh, Jason Wallet just barely sneaking by as Sider slid back down the track. Tim Robb hurting from that damage before, sneaks through. Lots of cars involved. I couldn't quite tell who from the bottom got collected. Lots of guys from that top lane though got hurt in that one.
Yeah, I saw some contact there with Dimlick. It looks like Athena Leclerc got caught up in it late. There was just simply so many cars to sort through in such a short period of time. It is tough to tell. So we'll do a quick rundown of how they run in just a moment here when out of the field is recycled, because I mean that was a number of the cars in the top 20 that are no longer in the top 20. So as they run, it is Matt Morton, Tim Moore, row 1, Austin DeLong, Matt O'Brien from Michigan Tech up in row 2, Andrew Stagey and Jake Cummings, row 3, Garrett Vighton, Edward Sanchez, row 4, Kelton Quick, Edwin Onofre, row 5. So definitely a bit of a roll of the dice here to see what names ended up in the top 10 after that wreck.
Certainly. We see just in the back of your screen there as they came around turn 2, a few drivers who stayed out last time came down pit road. That's Drew Williams and Nathan Inman. I know I saw coming off pit road, and I'm sure a few guys followed them who maybe had some damage that they picked up during that last incident that brought out this caution. Yeah, another little shake up to the field. We'll see how those guys who just took that pit stop can cycle back up to the front.
Yeah, I mean, when we see, especially when they start going 3 wide like that, in the blink of an eye, you could find yourself up at the front or back in the tail end of the pack. So track position, not overly critical here at a track like Talladega, although neither are tires. A lot of it is just making sure you've got a car that can handle air properly, because if you have any sort of aero damage on these machines at Talladega, your night can get very long very quickly.
Absolutely. Even if you just scrape the wall the wrong way, look at someone's right side quarter panel the wrong way, it will take tenths of a second off of the lap time, which is extremely important here when it comes to keeping the draft and just being able to even stay on the lead lap. It plays a huge factor. And back to what you were saying with the tires, I doubt we'll see anybody really take tires today unless we get a long enough run, or if they feel like they can do it without losing too much track position. Because track position isn't the most important here, but it is still a pretty important aspect of this race, because you want to be able to stay with the guys that you've been racing with. Again, just as a racer, you want to be able to stay as far up in the pack as you possibly can. You don't want to lose out on spots, because you don't know how much green flag laps we're actually going to get. We could get more cautions. You want to stay ahead of all that trouble.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's exponentially more dangerous to be trapped in the back of the pack whenever danger can loom around any corner. One point you mentioned earlier with that, you look at someone's quarter panel the wrong way and you start chopping tenths off of their lap time. Sometimes it almost acts as like a sleeper agent, where in the draft it'll handle fine because you don't necessarily need to floor it all the way around the track. But then the moment you get fresh air, so if you like cycle up to the lead or try and jump out to create a new lane, all of a sudden that might be where that aero damage really comes into play, because you no longer have the draft to kind of carry you along. So that's all the more reason to be careful with these cars. But Talladega is not necessarily known as the track of being careful. It's known as the track of taking chances, taking risks, trying to make something happen. And we saw that there with the Penn College Technology folks, and just didn't quite work out for him. Austin DeLong still hanging tough inside the top 4. But the rest of his teammates all kind of scattered throughout the field now. But cars lined back up 2 by 2 as they make their way through the final corner. Matt Morton and Tim Moore have been working with each other so well tonight, nose to tail. How will they get this sorted out? Will they get this sorted out? as they go ahead into turn one in just a moment here. Will someone try and let the other person in? Will they just race each other? All these questions and more to be answered momentarily as the pace car peels away.
Absolutely. Again, they take that long run down to the restart zone. I've always found Talladega, this little section right here where we see our drivers going through right now, the nerves just kind of build up. Every single restart, you go, oh, maybe this could be the one. I can make some moves. I can get up to the front. Or you could really get into some trouble. But as Matthew Morton and Austin Blanc get a really good restart, Morton might be clear of Tim Moore. Will he be able to get up? He's going to try it. And there he goes.
There he goes, and that's going to put Austin DeLong in a tough spot until Jake Cummings can get there. Cummings has actually decided, you know what, I'm not going to tie myself to the sinking ship of the inside lane. He'll jump up to the outside. DeLong will continue to fall on back, and then those drivers will slide back to the inside, having completely swallowed up what had been the initial inside lane. Matt Morton, Tim Moore out front once again, 1 and 2. DeLong all the way back to the sixth car on the inside, being pushed along by Stagey.
Absolutely. Now we see playoff driver Drew Williams right back into the top 10 after making that pit stop just during this previous caution break. Him and Thomas Toomey are right back up there in the top 10, making up some ground on that outside lane. But yeah, we're noticing the inside line doesn't seem to be getting off the restarts as well. So it's maybe something to keep an eye on later in the race if you really want to be on that bottom lane, if you want to be in P1 at all coming to the restarts.
Yeah, it seems like the guys who are first and second on the inside line get a good run, and then third on back, there's just some sort of disconnect between the two that the outside's not having, and they're able to stay much closer together. So to your point, yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on here as we get deeper into this run. If there is a late race restart, that could be pivotal in deciding the winner of tonight's race from Talladega. Just about at the halfway point. Drew Williams, can he save it? Oh, he almost did, but then there was more contact, and the junkyard strikes once again here at Talladega. The big one coming off of turn 4.
He gets hit again hard.
Another contact there with the 041. Looks like Toomey's involved, Burton, Sanchez, Darren Bartholomew's facing the wrong way. Man, that's another heavy hit for several of our playoff drivers.
You really hate to see it. The only bright side you can possibly think of, or the only hope you can have when something like this happens as a playoff driver, it can still happen to all to the others. It's still, we're only not even halfway in today's race. It can still happen to the others, but it's just such a gut punch. As I'm sure for Drew Williams to have all this damage now on the car, he's going to try and get it fixed and hopefully pick up some points. Lots and lots of damage on that Chevy.
Yeah, and this is a situation where it's there's not really a whole lot you can do except try and put any sort of sheet metal back on the car and send it back out there and hope it runs some more laps, and expect that misfortune may strike some of your competitors at any given point.
Absolutely. The bright side for Drew is you have to think or hope that he didn't get any engine damage. That's a big part. We talked a lot about aero with these cars. Any engine damage can hurt because that can cause the car to overheat later in the run. You might think it's fine now, but give it 5 laps out on track at race pace, and it can certainly cause some problems further down the road.
Well, they've slapped a nose back on the 23, and he's going to peel out just before it looks like the leaders are coming down pit road, so he may not lose a lap from that exchange, but definitely he's going to have to get some more work done on the body of that 23 machine. The leaders making their way down pit road this time. Morton and Moore into their box with relative ease. DeLong just behind him.
Absolutely. See, I'm curious if these guys are going to want to be taking tires. Doesn't look like it. Looks like Morton and Tim Moore did not take tires, and neither did excuse me. I think it's Lucas Moody. Not a lot of guys taking tires, or excuse me, Matt O'Brien. Yeah, not a lot of guys taking tires, at least from our front runners.
Yeah, no, it's, most cars look like they came down pit road at this point, and in theory, with another caution or two, they'd be able to make it to the end on fuel, which with the first 3 or 4 wrecks that we've had, definitely a plausible gamble to make. But a couple of cars stayed out. Let's take a look at the replay here. Let's see what happened to Drew Williams and company on their way off of 4 a couple laps ago.
All right, we see him coming off turn 4. Drew Williams, he's got I believe that's the 21 car rolling behind him, and he just got loose. I wonder if it was maybe net code, or like maybe the car got a little upset off turn 4. Maybe there's a little bit of consequence to not taking tires. As him and a number of other cars involved in that last contact, that is honestly probably going to do the most damage to that 23 car to really hurt Drew's day, and lots of other guys involved.
Yeah, taking another look at it real quick, it looked like there may have been a fraction of netcode, but they were definitely close enough where another little twitch there would have been contact either way. So definitely a tough break for the 23 as we see him in pit road at this point.
So
You see Dylan Godinez
we're
there.
gonna look at an onboard here. Excuse me.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Pardon me. We're gonna take a look, I think, at an onboard here from Drew Williams to maybe get a better idea of maybe what happened to that car. Looks like we got a good bit of that damage fixed on the 23. Hopefully, doesn't hurt his performance too much. We'll take a look here. All right, so we're on the roof cam here as they come through 3 and 4, very close to Jake, and yeah, it looks like it just jumps loose. It's hard to tell from that angle if it was net code or actual contact, but lots of guys involved. I think I saw Stockner, and boom, that's the big contact that's really gonna hurt.
Yeah, that's
hard to say.
The late hit there from the 041 is definitely a tough break for both of them. With all that smoke in the air, it's really tough to see anything. But yeah, no, the 23 at least looks like it has all the pieces back on it. Definitely not in the same direction they were facing when they were put on the car initially, but he's going to get back out there and try and give it another go. Him and Godinez, who was caught up in that incident with the PCT cars a little bit earlier on, but they're making their way back up to the tail end of the field here. As they run, it's going to be Garrett Vitton and Jake Cummings in row 1.
Absolutely. We see our pole sitter, actually, Jake Cummings. Didn't get the best jump on the initial race start, but he's right back up there now on the front row, along with Charles Wimbley will be restarting right behind him, and Andrew Burrell in the 4th position from 42nd on the grid. So field's been very shaken up in this race from how we started.
Yeah, Andrew Burrell plus 38. He's definitely been the hard charger so far tonight. He's doing a great job there for Clemson. Also, another driver to keep an eye on, Ryan Whitlock there from the University of Alabama in Huntsville. A driver who was a CIL staple for a number of seasons and then hasn't raced in the CIL in a couple of seasons. This, I believe, is his first race back since at least the spring, maybe the fall of last year. So the 81 definitely knows how to run these races in the CIL. He's definitely been a part of them before, but it's been some time. So the field looks very different, I'm sure, than the last time he was up there inside the top 5, top 6 area. So looks like everyone's trying to get it sorted out here, trying to figure out where they all fit back into the pack as they make their way down the tri-oval. The pace car has peeled off down pit road, which means we're just about to get racing. Looks like everyone, at least from 30th on forward, has found their way into the line. Green flag back in the air. The 007 gets a great jump on Charles Wimbley. He might have his choice of where he goes in the turn 1 of what lane he wants to block.
It's going to be hard to tell. Looks like Wembley's going to close right back up. Looks like Burrell might have jumped down to the bottom to join him there. They get a good bit of help, but we got quite a few cars lined up top now. Oh, and the caution's back out.
Caution back out here on lap 40. It wasn't inside the top 10, that much I can tell you. Must have been a little farther on back through turns 1 and 2, but we'll obviously try and find it as they run. But yeah, no, definitely the old adage of cautions breed caution, Zach.
Absolutely, and that's a thing we're probably might see a little bit more and more as the race goes on. We'll see lots and lots of drama in today's race as the laps tick away. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happened here. We didn't see anything up in the top 10.
Yeah, it's tough to tell from the timing table because things have been so shuffled around lately. I'm not entirely sure who I should have been looking for who plummeted down the standings. It's one of those things where once you have enough wrecks at Talladega and everything gets all jumbled up, it's impossible to just look at it blindly and go, all right, that must have been where it happened. Just because everyone gets so shuffled around. But looks like, at least for now, the top 10 will remain relatively unchanged outside of some shuffling and where they'll line up and the ensuing restart. And since so many drivers came down pit road last, I can't imagine many takers will be coming down this time around.
No, I imagine the only guys who will be coming down pit road this time are going to be maybe some guys who are involved in the last caution, who maybe didn't get all of their repairs done the first time around. So I doubt we'll see many guys come, but maybe we will. You never know. Some guys might be making some big strategy calls, think they can get to the end from here. Maybe betting on a green flag run.
So we're just past the halfway point of this race, but we have the replay here. Let's take a look and see what brought out the caution on lap 40. It starts with Alex Finnerty for UNC Charlotte there in the 321.
Yeah, it looks like he comes down trying to block Drew Williams and just turns himself around Drew's nose.
Whoa! Wow! Hey, good avoidance there from Kaler and Hallinar. They both split the pylon and the 321. Actually doesn't even touch the wall, so a little bit of contact there, but I don't think anyone's the worse off for it.
Really, no. He got pretty lucky, just probably scuffed his tires up and scared a couple other drivers, but yeah, very lucky to not hit anything there on that spin.
Yeah, if I was the 1 or the 057, I would be terrified seeing that car sideways off of turn 2 spinning toward me. But
it's the scariest sight in all of sim racing is a spinning car when you're that boxed in here at Talladega. There's not much, as wide as the track is, there's not much room to dodge these wrecks.
No, especially in the corner of Talladega, because if you're right up behind somebody, you really don't see a whole lot except for the car directly in front of you. So the only thing worse than a car spinning at Talladega in front of you is a car spinning in front of you at Talladega that you did not see spinning until it's directly in front of you.
Absolutely. It's certainly a shock to the senses, we'll say. It's very hard to anticipate, because just suddenly there's a car sideways or flying through the air in front of you.
It's like what do you do? All of a sudden, you open your eyes, there's a car sideways directly in front of you, not going the same direction you are. It's quite jarring. To your point, it is. It may distract you slightly from what you're doing at that moment, because then the only thing in your brain is, oh God, and you try and swerve out of the way.
Yeah.
But a lot of these drivers have more poise than that, as we saw with Kaler and Hallinar. If it was, lesser drivers, maybe they would have plowed through them, but they avoided it all and kept it all in one piece. But as we reset here, it's going to be Cummings and Charles Wembley there for Guilford in row 1, Vitton and Morton row 2, Burl and O'Brien row 3, Whitlock and Moore, and then DeLong and Onofre. So it feels like every restart, there's a different grouping of our top 10. One car, or the 2 cars that I'm really keeping my eye on, though, are Jake Cummings and Garrett Vitton. The 2 of those cars qualified up inside the top 5, shuffled their way on back, and have now fought their way back forward. So, Cummings is a playoff driver. He's looking for that win to get him to Homestead. Vitton's just looking for his first career CIL victory on the Collegiate Cup Series, like the Premier side. I know he's won one of the old prospect races a few years ago, but still looking for that first big victory, and not money bigger than Talladega if he can make it happen.
Absolutely. Talladega it's the big one, and we've seen the big one a couple times take out a few of our playoff drivers and a good portion of our field, to be honest. But yeah, really keeping an eye on Jake and Garrett as this race goes on. And we can't forget, we've got 3 other playoff guys lined up on that top line. Matthew Morton, Tim Moore, and Matt O'Brien are all lined up there in 4th, 6th, and 8th position there, respectively.
Yeah, and the especially Morton and Moore have been really locked up nose to tail a lot of the night so far. I'm expecting to see a bit more of that as they continue. The interesting piece there, I feel like, might be Matt O'Brien separating the two. The 043 came within 2 corners, I would say, of locking himself in the homestead. He tried making a pass on Drew Williams late last week at Kansas, wasn't able to make the move stick, and now still finds himself on the outside looking in. But I think, okay, so they turned the lights off on the pace car. He's about to peel down pit road, which means we're going to be racing this time as the field starts to regroup there. A couple of cars in the back trying to work their way back up to the line. But it'll be Cummings on the inside. It'll be Charles Wembley on the outside. Barney's got that green flag in the air. You can see what he's seen up there in the flag stand. They've hit the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air, racing at Talladega. And it looks like that inside, same deal. The first 2 cars get a good launch, and then there's a big gap back to third.
Absolutely. It seems to be the trend here on our restarts is that first 2 on the bottom get a really good launch. They can maybe clear the top lane, but then that top lane right out of turn 2, as we're seeing right now, Charles Wembley, Matthew Morton, they just come trucking right on by as those first 2 guys on the bottom fall back. And Morton's actually going to go to the inside here at Wembley.
Yeah, O'Brien and Morton just ducked down to the inside. They've left Wembley out to dry out there. He took the lead away from Jake Cummings, and then the entire line bailed on the 37. He's now all the way up on the outside, and he's in danger of falling out of the top 10, maybe the top 15 by the end of the lap here. Wow, tough break there for the Guilford College driver. He had just gotten into the lead, and then the entire pack left him for dead, and he's, I think, now maybe outside the top 20.
He very well could be. That's a very unfortunate break there for the 37 car. He just got shuffled out, and that's just a product of these races. You need the help. Drivers need to have the confidence in you. That's the trouble you're going to have coming into these races as a brand new driver. Guys aren't familiar with you yet. Oh, got some guys getting squirrely there on the top lane. I don't know if you got a little sideways. Hang on to it. But as I was saying, if you're new to the league, guys don't have the confidence in your capabilities. They don't know how hard they can push you yet. They don't know how well you can hang on to the car if it maybe gets a little sideways. So these playoff guys especially, they're not going to want to take the risk of trying to push with you because that could eventually hurt their race in their championship. So they're going to want to play it safe.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a fair thing, but it is just a way of living here at Talladega where, you know, if you have only run a couple of races here, if your car isn't up there with some of these other drivers week in, week out, they don't recognize, to your point, they don't know necessarily how much they can work with you. It's too many variables out there for their liking, especially this early in the race when they don't necessarily have to work with you. So just about 30 laps to go here at Talladega. Matthew Morton leads from Ohio State with Matt O'Brien and Tim Moore hot on his heels on the inside. Edwin Onofre from North Texas leading that outside line along with Oscar Enriquez. But now Moore is going to jump to the outside. He's going to try and get around the 043 of Matt O'Brien. Morton will jump up to the high line, and those 2 cars locked in nose to tail once again.
I think that might be a theme we see all day. Unless someone can maybe get in between them, it's going to be really hard to beat those 2. They seem to keep finding their way up front. Those 2 are working together extremely well tonight. Those 2 Chevys are hooked up on that top lane right now. They get a huge run off the top. Might be able to clear the 043, and they do quite handily, I must say. And they're going to hop down to the bottom lane.
They got a really good run there. They'll slide down, which means 4 playoff drivers will now run the first 4 cars on the inside line. Leaves Edwin Onofre and Oscar Enriquez there on the outside of the second row, along with Andrew Stagey. So a couple of playoff drivers on the inside, a couple of non-playoff drivers looking for the glory of a win here at Talladega on the outside. Definitely everyone in the field wants to win, but everyone's trying to win for a very different reason. Some folks like Onofre or Enriquez looking for their first ever CIL victory. Folks like Morton, Moore, or O'Brien looking to really lock themselves in for the championship finale at Homestead in a couple of weeks. Everyone wanting to win, but reasons for doing so may vary depending on what car you look at here. Is that outside line starting to lose a little bit of support from behind there, and that inside line starting to pull away a bit?
Absolutely. That bottom lane's looking pretty good. A little bit strung out right now, but that might just be a product of us losing a few cars. Oh, it looks like one of them cars on the top lane got a little squirrely there. He's going to find a hole on the bottom lane of the racetrack to hop in here. And look at that. Speaking of playoff drivers, maybe having a difficult day. We got Mr. Tim Robb in 4th on that top lane. He had quite a bit of damage to that car earlier in the race, but he's just hanging out right back there in 4th car in line on the top. He's come right back up front here to have another solid run here in the playoffs, as we got 4 playoff drivers in the top 5. He's trying to join them.
He is trying to join him indeed. He's doing a good job rebounding from that earlier wreck. He mentioned in the Ignition Zone pre-race show that his goal was just to kind of be there at the end. That would be the only thing to really give him a chance. And, you know, despite the earlier incident that he got caught up in, he's putting himself back in position here as we're about to hit lap 50 of this 75-lap race. Now back inside the top 10, 4th car on the outside, trailing Colin Culpa there as he gets his nose ahead of Andrew Burl on the inside. So now 5th car has joined the playoff mix. Clinton Halterman there, not too far behind him. He's a couple cars back from Rob as well, trying to join into the fun. So while it is a playoff party up at the front of the field right now, there is a whole host of cars who are not giving them an inch.
Absolutely. We got Mr. Edwin Onofre and Garrett Vighton trying to ruin their party, trying to come steal a win, which I love to see. Tried to do it myself last weekend, couldn't quite get it done. Really rooting for these guys to have a bit of an upset. I love an upset win in the playoffs. It's always a lot of fun. AJ Allmendinger at the Roval this year, coming in, upsetting all the playoff guys at the road course. I'd love to see something like that today at Talladega. It would just really shake up, I feel like, a lot of these playoff guys' plans.
Yeah, it looks like this outside line's getting a pretty good run here going into the corner. They got a little separated with that boost of speed. But Edwin Onofre holding a steady wheel out front on that outside line right now, trying to will that outside back up toward the front of the field. He's running side by side right now with Garrett Fighton and Oscar Enriquez. They're 5th and 6th. Onofre, the first car on the outside. So they still got some work to do, but if they get a few more cars to get some support on behind, or maybe a car ahead of them to kind of jump on in front of them, we could see a lot more direct action up at the front of the field as Onofre is getting a bit of a run here. He's clawed his way back up alongside Jake Cummings, and this really becomes the part of the race where it feels like a high-speed chess match. You know, how do you put yourself in position to be able to win this race when it comes down to the closing 10 laps, closing 5 laps? You know, if you're the cars in the top 10 right now, you feel pretty good about where you're running. But if you're someone a little farther on back, you know, say someone at the tail end of this pack, what's his name? Tim Wilms. You know, I see that Drexel car, that yellow nose back there. That's a situation where it's like you're in the pack, but you still have a lot of work to do to get up toward the front. How do you make your way on through to get up there?
That's a very difficult spot to be in too, because it's so hard being the last car in the pack, because you're trying to hang on to the draft while not running through the guy in front. It doesn't look like it so much on the broadcast, but you can see lots of like ebbing and flowing, gains and losses as these guys work along, and it makes it hard as a trailing driver, because you get these huge runs and you don't really want to jump out, because then you lose all that draft. But if you check up too much, it's going to take that much, just as long, to get back up to speed, and then you in jeopardy of losing the draft. But yeah, Tim having a very solid race back there, and we see Tim Robb, while we were talking, snuck his way to be the 4th car in line on the bottom.
I'll be honest, I completely missed how the American University machine got up there, but he has now put himself as the 4th car of 5 straight playoff drivers on that inside line. So he's found himself in good company, and despite the earlier damage, the number 5 car trucking along with the best of them up front here as this outside line gets a bit of a run here going into turn 1. Edwin Onofre gets all the way up, I think, alongside Tim Moore and Matt O'Brien. Here comes the 199. He's got Stagey right behind him, Culpa and Weist, and then Halterman and Kaler. 3 UNC Charlotte cars actually a little farther back on that inside line with Weist, Halterman and Kaler, wondering if they're all working together to try and get to the front here. But it is certainly the battle's certainly on up front here as we're nearing just about 20 laps to go in this race.
Absolutely, that top line's looking pretty strong right now. They're making up some ground. Onofre's just right door to door with Matt O'Brien right now, trying to get up there to Tim Moore. doesn't quite have the help. They need, like, I think just a couple more cars to get up there for those guys towards the back of that line to really start pushing. As we're getting pretty close to 20 to go, 21 laps to go here at Talladega. We're closing in on the end. These guys are going to really start getting aggressive here, really turning it up soon.
And you can see from the onboard camera here of Tim Robb that it just because you got two lines of cars here doesn't mean that everyone's static. You know, keeping these cars perfectly straight at these speeds and these like driving conditions is not easy. And you see that kind of shimmy all throughout the field. It is certainly not easy to maintain that draft, which was what makes driving in this sort of pack style races so difficult. As you see Jake Cummings actually blink a little bit there, his connection maybe a little on the fritz there. And that is the worst thing you can have happen in a playoff race is someone near you start blinking. Nothing invokes more terror, I think, in my opinion, than that.
In any sim race, it's the most terrifying thing you can have. Is it's really hard to race someone if you don't know where they are, and that's one of the risks of sim racing. Is you can't. It's so hard sometimes to predict where people will be.
Yeah, so as they run, Matt Morton, Tim Moore, Matt O'Brien still holding serve first through third on the inside. Tim Robb has rebounded well up in the fourth. Jake Cummings still holding on to the top five here. And then this is where things start getting 2x2 with Edwin Onofre, Garrett Viton, Andrew Stagey, Colin Kolpa, and Oscar Enriquez there inside the top 10. But a whole host of cars, including three UNC Charlotte cars on the outside there. This has the potential to be the first season in the history of the CIL College Cup Series. This is the 9th season of it. This could be the first one where a UNC Charlotte driver does not pick up a win. They've won at least one race in each of the prior 8 seasons, but so far with only 3 races to go here, they're still looking for their first win of the season.
It's just so hard to count them out, though, because even though, as you say, they haven't won a race yet this year, they've still got guys in the hunt. Like, Clint Halterman is always incredibly fast. Jared Kaler obviously is a multi-time champion in the series. You can never count him out. But yeah, it could be a very, let's say, historic season. That's it.
So yeah, definitely an interesting sort of turn of events there. It also looks like a couple of maybe a Penn College car has found another teammate back there. They might try it again there. It almost worked for them earlier on until the contact between Tallman and Sidor. But right now, we've got 5 playoff drivers in our top 6, top 7 cars here. Jake Cummings actually fallen back a little bit from Tim Robb. Robb actually kind of getting stranded in a little bit of a no man's land here between Cummings and Matt O'Brien. Might give Edwin Onofre an opportunity to drop down if he so chose, unless he's going to really try and ride this high line here with Andrew Stagey. Stagey actually going up to the high side. And now Edwin Onofre has lost his opportunity to do either. He's stuck in the middle with no help.
That's very unfortunate. Edwin was running very well up there at the top, leading that line very well, and that's really going to actually hurt the top line's run completely, because like we were talking about earlier with the side draft being so strong in these cars, him just existing there in the middle of the track is going to hurt their chance to get a run at all. And now you see the lead car on that top lane has dropped down now all the way back towards Austin DeLong and Jason Wallet, just on the fringes of the top 10 there. So these guys might go from racing for the lead to now way back, and now we're pretty well single file for the entire top 10 cars in today's race.
Yeah, things were starting to get a little dicey back in the 10th through 20th area as everyone was trying to get themselves sorted out. Looks like everyone was indeed able to do so. And right now, I'm looking at the timing table. The first 23 cars are all kind of in a pack, and then there's a massive half a lap gap back to Drew Williams in 24th, who currently leads that second pack, but they are literally half the track behind the leaders here. So if they want any chance of getting back out and winning this race, they're probably going to need a caution, which almost happened a moment ago, but everyone sort of sorted themselves out. Playoff drivers maintain the first 5 spots here with about to be 15 laps to go. Matt Morton and Tim Moore have been an unstoppable duo for most of this race. Who's going to be the pairing that tries to beat them? You'd got to think it might be Matt O'Brien and Tim Robb there in 3rd and 4th, but with the fact that they're both playoff drivers, how cooperative with each other would they be?
It's really hard to say, and you gotta, if you're Matt O'Brien, you have to question how good is Tim Rob's car now, because I don't know if Matt is aware that Tim was in the accident, but if he is, he has to be questioning how strong Tim's car truly is, because like we were mentioning earlier, the draft, even if you have a little bit of damage, it can help you a lot to be able to hold this ground if you do just have aero damage. But if you're the second car in line and you have this aero damage, the hole in the air that's being punched by the car in front is that much smaller. So it's really hard to say. I don't know if Tim Robb himself even knows how good his car will be trying to lead or line or push a driver. But here comes Jason Willott and Austin DeLong making that second line work, pushing each other very hard in those Chevys.
Yeah, about to say, speaking of leading a line here, our Season 7 Daytona winner, he knows how to get it done on super speedways, and all of a sudden the Drexel number 76 has found his way into the top 5 here late in this race. He's got DeLong, Stagey, and Colin Kolpa all on his back bumper here trying to push that front line back up toward the front after they got a little disjointed a few laps ago. They've rallied themselves back inside the top 5 here. Austin DeLong has really been hammering the back bumper of the 76, but to Wallett's credit, I mean, that car has been pretty glued to the track. It doesn't look like the 76 is really losing a ton of traction, and because of it, they're really starting to make some time on the cars in front of them.
Absolutely. Jason's car looks incredibly planted right now, even receiving just the absolute beating that it is from Austin DeLong's car, and they're gonna get right up there, maybe getting a little bit of a draft from the 041 there in Major Montevideo. But that may be helping that top lane. They're going to get a good run off the corner here, I think. Jason might be threatening Matthew Morton for the lead in just a lap or two here, if they can stay organized up there.
Yeah, you've got 6 cars. Oh, the caution is out here. Oh, they're spinning behind him. Andrew Burrell, the 888, sideways on the backstretch. Looked like a couple other cars were trying to get it sorted around as well. It looked to be at the tail end of this lead pack here. There was 23 cars in that lead group, and it looked to be in the back, say, 7, 8 cars or so. But obviously the replay will tell. But that is a huge break here for, I think, if anyone, maybe Matthew Morton. I'm not sure how he was doing on fuel leading lap after lap. You know that he's definitely not in as good of a fuel position as Tim Moore is. And since he came down pit road last, I believe, on lap 38, if the fuel window was about 35, 36 laps or so, with the caution laps, he'd be really close, but maybe just on the outside looking in.
Absolutely. It's a good break for him and Tim Moore, because now they get just a break. They get to like recollect their thoughts. They've been they've been cruising up front, but there's still always going on in your mind. You're trying to be aware of what's going on in the top lane behind you in different lanes of the track, what everyone else is doing, other playoff guys, because these guys, well, Matthew Martin at least, still trying to lock into the next round. So he's obviously got that point steal in his head. He knows he's got other playoff guys behind him battling hard. But another guy I think this is a huge break for, to be able to stay on the lead lap, is another playoff driver, Andrew Williams. It's a big break for him to be able to just stay on the lead lap and try and get back up with this lead pack.
Yeah, so it looks like that'll regroup everyone, which will be huge for that back group. Guys like Williams, Sanchez, and a few more who were in that second group and starting to lose out to the leaders. One thing that's going to be interesting here on this restart, we know Tim Moore and Matthew Morton have been working together all night. They've been working really well. I'd be shocked if they did anything different here on this restart. The question mark's going to be, what does Jason Willott do? You got to imagine that the 13 probably is going to move up in front of the 074. Do you try and get back in behind him? Do you try and pull DeLong or O'Brien with you? There's a lot of questions that we'll have to look at in a second here. Here's the replay of that accident that happened about 2 laps ago.
All right. We see them coming down the backstretch, and it looks like Nathan Inman actually got turned by Jake Cummings, and Burrow got
that's Halterman.
Halterman, excuse me. Thank you.
The 07 to 007, they all start to meld together after a little while. But yeah, no, to your point, it just looked like the 07, a little bit of contact there with the 51 of Inman, took Ryan Whitlock with them and collected a couple other cars, including Andrew Burrell.
Absolutely. Unfortunate for those guys. A lot of those guys are having very solid runs up in the top 10, right around it. So you hate to see something like that in their day. It looks like someone tried to maybe make it 3 wide and just didn't quite work there. We're going to hopefully take another look here in just a second.
So yeah, at the front of the field, Ohio State's Matthew Morton, Manhattanville College's Tim Moore. They've been 1-2 most of the night. They continue the hold serve here with about to be 10 laps to go. Then you've got Jason Wallet of Drexel, who's come onto the scene late here with Matt O'Brien, who's having a good run. Austin DeLong has been up front all night. So has Andrew Stagey, for that matter. Tim Robb has rebounded nicely. Colin Culp was putting in a solid effort on that outside lane there for Indiana. And then Jake Cummings and Jake Weist there in 9th and 10th. So definitely some cars that we've expected to see up toward the front of the field here. But there's also been some cars that have come onto the scene late. Most notably, that Drexel machine has really charged onto the scene. But let's take another look at that replay. Let's take a look at the onboard of, I believe, Clint Halterman.
Absolutely. Let's take a look. Looking out from the roof cam here on Clint. Looks like he tries to make a move to the inside of Inman and just gets into his left rear, which collects Whitlock, Burrell, and I don't know who he hit there. I think that was Kaler and Timothy Williams also got collected a little bit. Oh, it looks like Kaler got into Williams a second time there after they got collected. That might have sent Williams up into the outside wall.
But, yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. It looked like there was some extra contact there between the 86 and the 1. But definitely a number of cars involved now. And not the biggest crash we've had here today, but definitely it's going to mess up a couple of folks' chances at a victory, especially this late in the race. You know, when you get caught in a weird accident like that earlier on, you've got some time to try and rebound and make your way back up through the field. Now with only 10, soon to be 9 laps to go when they go green, you're really starting to run out of time. And Zach, I think with only 9 laps to go in a moment here, this is where we're really going to see some of the silly stuff happen.
Absolutely. It's going to get very, very wild. We got some guys who, even non-playoff drivers, would just love to get another win under their belt, especially that Jason Wallet. Austin DeLong, I know, would love to get his first win. Andrew Stagey as well. These guys are very hungry, and we've still got guys there to race for a championship. So you got to think, if these non-playoff drivers are maybe getting a little too rowdy, do you think we could see guys who are in a good spot, like maybe a Matthew Morton, maybe just take the hit and drop out of line? I doubt it, but do you think there's any possibility, Alex?
If you're Tim Moore, maybe. If you're anyone else, I couldn't think of it. Tim Moore at least is already locked in, so at this point, this is just a go for the win like any of the non-playoff drivers sort of situation. If you're someone like Matt Morton, Matt O'Brien, Tim Robb, Jay Cummings, it becomes a little bit more dicey. I don't think you're going to give up any positions that you don't have to. But if you're someone like Jason Wallet or Andrew Stagey, Austin DeLong, you're going to be going for it. That's for sure. Green flag in the air for what might be the last time here at Talladega. They step on the gas, and as they make their way into turn 1, it'll be once again Matt Morton sliding up in front of the 074 of Tim Moore. Jason Wallet trying to lead Austin DeLong on that low side.
Those two guys on the bottom, Austin DeLong and Jason Wallet, were hooked right up on the top lane earlier, they're just about ready to fight for the lead there before the yellow came out. But they're going to lose a little bit of ground here, restarting on the bottom, which has been the trend as we've seen tonight. And those top 4, Stagey just trying to clear Wallet, and he just might there. And we got Colin Culpa now leading the top line with help from Jacob Weist.
Almost some bumper cars there. The 88 trying to get everything settled down as Wallet's trying to push them forward. It is those playoff drivers of Matt Morton, Tim Moore, Matt O'Brien running 1, 2, 3. Here comes Colin Culpa and Jake Weist, though, on that outside. Despite the fact they didn't have a lot of numbers, they had a good run there going into turn 1. Colin Culpa now alongside Matt O'Brien for third.
Absolutely. Our defending alumni champion and Colin Culpa got a huge run off the top lane off turn 4. those two Fords up top, or 4 Fords up on the top lane, all lined up, making up a lot of ground here late in the race. As we come down the backstretch into turn 3, they're going to try and take third here from Matt O'Brien.
Here comes Indiana and Colin Culpa on the outside. He's got Jake Weist, Oscar Enriquez, and Jake Cummings along the outside here, coming off of turn 4, about to be 7 laps to go here from Talladega. Matt Morton, Tim Moore, Matt O'Brien holding tight on the inside line. Then you've got Andrew Stagey, Jason Wallet, and Austin DeLong back there, 4th, 5th, and 6th on that inside row. Everyone trying to fight for position at this point, trying to figure out what is going to be the magic move to get yourself to the front. As now coming off the backstretch, that outside line got a little squirrely. So did the inside line, though. Might let everyone kind of charge back up as it left the 3 leaders out to dry. Here goes Wallet and DeLong to the high side.
Those two worked together really well up top there. They were able to make up lots of ground on those leading 4 drivers. See what they can do again this time. A huge shot to the back of the 76 from Austin DeLong. They're going to get a good run off the corner. We're 3 and 4 wide behind them. Another Penn College car making a move to the middle. And that's going to hurt the outside line, excuse me. They lost a lot of help. The outside got pretty unorganized. Now look who's back in the top 10. The number 23 car, Drew Williams.
Where did that car come from? All of a sudden, Drew Williams back into the top 10 as well. Just like Tim Robb, just kind of materialized after an incident, has found himself back in a position to get a really solid points day out of this. That outside line, though, really got hooked up 3 cars deep. They're making some progress back out there. You see the onboard there of Drew Williams. He's really back into that seat right now. You can barely see him on his camera, but he's trying to figure out what move he can make to try and get up there to the win with his battered Clemson machine. As they make their way out of turn 4, once again, everyone getting a little out of sorts, relines it back up. When they hit the stripe, it'll be 5 laps to go.
Well, we got a 1 car in the middle there, the 66, trying to split up those 2 Chevys up front. Culpa's going to try and go with DeLong. Is he going to change his mind here? Doesn't get much help. He's going to come back down, and that's very unfortunate for Austin DeLong. He's going to lose a lot of help, and so is Jason Millett, and losing his drafting partner who he's been with for much of this race. He's still going to get a very good shot down the backstretch, though.
I tell you what, Oscar Enriquez is really pushing that 76, though. DeLong is no longer in the picture, but here comes the 76 and the 66 on that outside. They had help from Culpa and Weist down the backstretch to get a little fanned out. That 66 is glued to the back bumper of the Drexel machine right now, making their way past Andrew Stagey, now trying to get up back to Matt Morton. I'm surprised no one else has jumped up there with them, because those 2 cars by themselves are really making up some ground as they get a little bit of separation now as they battle for third into turn 1.
That's the thing with these cars. They can get hooked up, and when they do, it's fast, but you really can't do it for more than a lap at a time. These guys, they can get hooked up, and then they got to break off for about a lap, and then they can go and try it again. They can't do it lap after lap after lap. They will lose the motor if they continue to try it. But even then, they're not hooked up now, but Jason's got a huge run.
Yeah, that Drexel machine on the outside, knocking on the door of Tim Moore for second. He's been side by side with Matt O'Brien for a lot of the past couple laps here. Colin Culpa, Jake Weist, Austin DeLong, the 5th car on the outside as well, trying to push him. When they hit the line, it'll be 3 laps to go. Matt Morton, Tim Moore, and Matt O'Brien still holding on to that inside line. Everyone waiting to make their move. Will they make it here with 3 laps to go?
Here we go. Here we go. Jason Millett is cracking the top 3 now. Door to door with Matt O'Brien, right where we saw him before the yellow came out. Although a different drafting partner, he's still got lots of speed in that 76 car. That thing is planted. Here he comes off turn 4. Gets another little bit, or excuse me, turn 2. A little bit of a run. They're getting a little squirrely up there on that top lane. I can't tell who that is. I think that was Jacob Weist. Got a little sideways. Held on to it.
People on the outside are wondering when they're going to be able to make their move, if they are at all. That inside line, just waiting to see how this all unfolds. There'll be 2 laps to go coming to the line. Matt Morton has 2 more laps to hold on to get the victory here at Talladega. Everyone's starting to get a little crazier behind them. This is where things might start to unfold here at Talladega. As we see someone dive to the low side, it was Enriquez from George Mason.
And Jason Millett's going to lose his help. That's going to hurt that top lane. Will we see someone maybe try and work with Tim? Enriquez
Oh,
is
it's
gonna be right
Enriquez.
back in front of a lot. Will a lot stick with him now that he abandoned him? Oh, we got
Oh, Weist in the wall.
and DeLong's gonna go around, and we're probably gonna.
That's going to bring out the caution, which means we will be going to CIL overtime. One attempt at a green-white checkered here. Just when things were heating up front, that outside line, they all say, all right, we're running out of time. They all tried making their move simultaneously, and it ended up not working out there for Jacob Weist and Austin DeLong. As you can see on the screen there, one attempt at a green-white checker to settle this one under green. Matt Morton and Tim Moore are going to have the best chance at it, but with only one more attempt to go, you bet people are going to be doing anything they can to get to the front.
It's gonna be chaos. If we make it round to the white flag, I will be surprised. We got lots of guys who really, this is anyone's race now. We saw from previous restarts, I think it was I want to say it was Jake Cummings went from 10th to 1st in one lap. Anyone can get it done this time. Anyone. It's gonna be very exciting.
The other thing with it is that if they're able to take the white flag, even if there's like a wreck in turn 1, they will race to the start-finish line because it is the final lap. Let's take a look at the replay here to see what forced us into a green-white checkered situation. It started with Jake Weist and Austin DeLong.
All right, they come off the corner here. Looks like Weist made it checked up. DeLong just wasn't ready for it. Hit Weist, who hit the car in front of him, which just caused a little bit of an accordion effect, which sent DeLong spinning, of course. I think Weist collected the 15 of Michael Siders, just having a rough day. Second incident he's been involved in. This time, through no fault of his own, just got collected in some other drama, I'll say.
Yeah, taking a look at that replay, what it looked like was the outside line had to check up a little bit with that battle between Enriquez and Wallet, which forced Culpa to have to check up a little bit as DeLong was giving Weist a good push there on 4th and 5th on the outside. So Weist got a good launch of momentum forward as Culpa was trying to slow up just a hair, which forced, Weist to check up a little bit, which then resulted in heavy contact between him and DeLong. So that was an accordion play if I've ever seen one. A really tough break for those drivers, but it will regroup the field. Let's take a look at one more look at this here. We'll take a look at one of the onboard cameras from the incident.
I believe we'll be on board with Austin DeLong here. Yep. As we come through, yeah, we see the top lane starts to check up as one car moves up to the top. And I just don't think he expected the 600 car to check up as much as he did. Yeah, just an accordion effect. Very, very common occurrence here at these tracks. It's hard to avoid as the trailing car. You can only see so much with the big spoilers on these cars. Not the greatest visibility trying to look past the car in front of you. So there's not much I really think Austin could have done there differently.
No, nor Weist. I mean, he got pushed into a situation that I think he was actively trying not to be in. So Absolutely. Really just a tough break for both the 600 and the 22. But when this restarts, it'll be Matt Morton on the inside, Tim Moore on the outside, Matt O'Brien, Andrew Stagey, row 2. And then row 3, it's a little actually tough to tell from this angle who the third car is because they're not fully pulled up to the back bumper. That might be
a lot.
It might, yeah. So Jason Wallet, Drew Williams, or no, sorry, it's Oscar Enriquez and Tim Robb will be row 3. I made the same mistake because we cut back to the 8th on back. But yeah, so the George Mason driver, Oscar Enriquez, in his CIL debut, currently sitting in the top 5. Maybe he puts George Mason in victory lane for the first time in CIL history tonight.
That would be very cool to see. I love seeing you guys come out here and just get it done. It's always a very good sight. Good for the league. You love to see it. It's gonna be very hectic. I honestly don't know what to expect in terms of who's gonna be going where. Do you think Morton and Tim Moore are gonna continue to work together? Are they gonna be able to hold off guys? I doubt they'll get much help from anyone else behind them on this restart. You got to wonder what Tim Robb has left in that car. What guys like Andrew Williams have left, if any other drivers have any kind of damage on their cars. it's going to be very hard to see, to predict what happens on this restart.
It really is. And the other thing that's running through my mind right now, guys like Oscar Enriquez and Andrew Stagey, for one of them, new driver to the CIL, one of them, pretty regular face, but not typically in the top 5. Will we see another situation where some of the drivers behind them don't trust them, or will they just go for it? The 88's been running up front all day. Stagey has looked really, really sharp out there today, so maybe he has earned that privilege from his peers here to try and stay in the mix. Maybe he'll try and give Tim Moore a shot to go for the win. It's anyone's guess how these last 2 laps are going to play out. Even if we get 2 laps, I mean, they could wreck going into turn 1, and that could be the end of it.
Absolutely, it's really hard to say. In personal experience, when I've been racing Talladega, we get these late race restarts so often. You almost become a little blind to who the cars around you are at a certain point. You get to the point where this guy's got momentum, I'm going with him. Whoever your drafting partner was for most of the race, forget it. Everyone's your enemy. Just race as hard, get as much track position as you can, avoid the wreck that is almost certain to come. Be aggressive, try and survive. It's really all these guys can do now. Gotta have faith in their fellow drivers as we're coming to the restart zone. One final time here at Talladega.
Green flag in the air for unequivocally the final time tonight. They hit the gas. They go down the tri-oval, racing for the final time here tonight at Talladega. It is going to be Matt Morton leading the way on the inside. He'll slide up, but Matt O'Brien goes with him. They both chop off the 074. That'll open the door for Enriquez on the bottom. But it's Matt Morton and Matt O'Brien on the high side as they go their way out of 2.
They're pushing very hard on that top lane. Will anyone try and make it 3 wide? Maybe try to go to the top? What's going to happen here? Looks like Tim Moore's going to go down to the bottom, and Matt O'Brien's going to join him down there as they come down into turn 3. One more time on this second to last lap here.
Matt O'Brien has taken the lead as they make their way through 3 and 4. Can the 88 keep the 043 ahead of Matt Morton? Andrew Stagey trying to push Matt O'Brien. O'Brien going for the side draft. He's now switched down to Tim Robb as his drafting partner.
Tim Robb
Morton and Moore going across the stripe. 1 lap to go, 3 wide as they go in the 1.
Look who's back. Edwin Onofre back into the top 6 here. They're racing very hard. Looks like Morton's got a good run. Enriquez might be able to clear O'Brien, and O'Brien's going to get a really good shot here from Tim Robb. Huge push down the back straight from the 2 playoff drivers up on the top lane. Will they be able to do anything with Matthew Morton here as they come into turn 3?
Let's find out. O'Brien trying to the high side. Robb ducks down to the low side. He didn't like his odds with O'Brien. He'll leave the 043 out to dry. Going through 3 and 4 for the final time. Here they come off of turn 4. Matthew Morton in the lead. Is anyone going to try and jump out and make the run? Tim Robb's thinking about it. No. Now it's Enriquez to the high side. He's trying to take it away. But it is going to be Matthew Morton who picks up the victory. Ohio State wins it here over Tim Moore from Manhattanville College. And Oscar Enriquez in his CIL debut for George Mason finishes 3rd.
Wow, that was a pretty good finish. As we predicted,
Drew Williams must have not been thrilled with the end of that race. No. Just pummeled that car to the inside wall.
Drew is certainly not super pleased with his result, but really it's a great recovery drive from the man to get back up to P9 at the end of it. But it went as we kind of were talking. Excuse me. Tim Moore and Matthew Morton stuck together, nose to tail the whole race as they were the entire time. And Oscar Enriquez pulls out a line coming to the line in that critical last few 100,000 feet or whatever it is, and just gets Tim Robb right at the line, to steal a podium in his first ever CIL race.
What a finish. I'm honestly shocked how, everything just got so disjointed coming off of turn 2 that really the only person who could have made a play for the win would have been Tim Moore. I know that these two outside of the CIL are teammates, so maybe there was a bit of that coming into play tonight, but There you see it on your screen. That's the difference. Matt Morton by exactly 1 car length over Tim Moore, as Tim Moore was shoving that 13 to victory lane, and you can just see the fender of Oscar Enriquez off to the right of your screen there. But yeah, a victory for Matthew Morton will also deliver him an automatic berth into the championship race at Homestead in a couple weeks' time. What a race! What a Talladega! Definitely not the way I thought it was going to play out at the end, but up front they all kept it pretty forward. So, and then a little bit of teammate camaraderie there for the Nexus Esports folks between Morton and Tim Moore. But those two put on a masterclass in draft pack racing here tonight.
Absolutely. The teamwork from those two, especially on the restarts, to be able to consistently restart after restart after restart, get nose to tail, was incredible. Those guys did an incredible job consistently getting lined up like that. It was a very good show from the two gentlemen there. And yeah, great win there from Matthew Morton. Just very well done from everyone today. It was a very good race, very entertaining.
Sorry, had the mic muted. There we go. Yeah, fun race here tonight from Talladega. Never fails to put on a show. So we'll have an opportunity in just a moment to bring our podium drivers into the booth and talk to them about the race that was. But we will be there in just a second. But yeah, no, with that, Zach, now we have half of our Championship 4 field settled going into Michigan in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm very curious to see what the points picture is now. A few playoff guys have trouble today. I'm very curious to see what those points are looking like. Of course, nothing's official yet, but we'll wait and see what those points might look like towards the end of the week. Very exciting to see that. But yeah, huge win for Matthew Morton. He was in a good spot on points. Maybe that lack of pressure helped him stay focused just purely on the race rather than worrying about staying alive.
It's certainly possible. Now, let's have an opportunity to talk to our race winner here. Picks up the victory here tonight at Talladega, Ohio State's Matthew Morton. Matt, congrats on the victory. Talk to me on what you saw out there. It looked like you saw a lot of open racetrack most of the night.
Yeah, I appreciate the introduction there. Yeah, basically the plan from me, Tim, and O'Brien there was after those first few laps, we just wanted to stay up front as long as we can, avoid the chaos and the wrecks. But yeah, I mean, from my point of view, it was just stay good on fuel and try to stay up front.
Absolutely. Was the plan the whole race to stay right in front of Tim Moore as you did, or is that just how it worked out? Were you guys trying to orchestrate those restarts to keep you in the lead like that?
Definitely we're trying to work together on those restarts, especially when we were 1-2 and he was on the outside. I would try to merge up after the line, get the momentum going, and then try to merge back down and just maintain the control of the pack. Felt like it would be best if all three of us were just nose to tail controlling the field. So, yeah.
So with your victory here today at Talladega, you're already pretty good on points coming into today, but now you are officially locked in the Homestead in a couple weeks' time. So congratulations. Want to ask you, does that change your approach to the last couple weeks of the season here? Is it going to be more time working on the Homestead skills, or is it going to be just treating every race as its own thing and still putting in a strong effort for Michigan in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily changes the way I'm going to look at the next race and maybe the championship, but it definitely gives me that sigh of relief that I could just not have to stress about Michigan and just focus on Homestead in 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, going into Michigan, we're still going to try to go out there and win and try to do as best as I can.
Alrighty, well, want to ask, anyone you'd like to thank or shout out here tonight before we let you go on your way and celebrate?
There is definitely two people I'd like to thank tonight, Tim Moore and Matt O'Brien there. We try to work together as best we can, and we controlled the field as it was planned after the first few laps there. So I definitely got to repay Tim Moore, especially for those great pushes there coming to the end. Like to thank Buckeye Gaming Collective, or shout them out at least. Like to thank the CIL for putting the College Cup Series on. It's awesome to be a part of it. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Alrighty. Well, congrats on your victory there, Matt. Go enjoy. And hopefully we get to see you again in the booth real soon.
Thank you guys. Go Bucks.
And the trademark "Go Bucks" there from the Ohio State driver. Every time he's in the booth, we have to hear it. But he did a good job tonight picking up the victory. I mean, a hard-earned victory. Him and Timothy Moore were the class of the field here tonight.
Absolutely. You know, why don't we have a word with Mr. Tim Moore here?
Yeah, let's
Our second place finisher.
Yeah, let's bring him in here. Now with us, it is the second place finisher from Manhattanville College, Timothy Moore. Tim, congrats on the back-to-back podiums here and an average finish of 1.5 on super speedways here this season in the CIL. That's quite the accomplishment given how wild card these races can be.
Yeah, I mean, they're wild card races, but I think I said it last week. I said, I look forward to coming to a track like this because this is the kind of racing that has fit my style, historically speaking, on the platform. And I love these kinds of races because while, yes, it's unpredictable, yes, you can't predict when the chaos or where the chaos is going to come from. I feel a lot of times, I don't want to say like to compare to Denny Hamlin, but it's like, I feel like you kind of some guys develop that sixth sense, some guys don't. And I feel like one thing that I do a really good job at when I come to races like this is just kind of put it in my own hands in regards to pushing. Like today, behind Matt, behind O'Brien as well, at other times where it felt like, we can go top line, kind of progress ourselves. I feel like it's important to get that sense of if you feel like you're in trouble just to get out and so on. And it's a big emphasis when I come to this place. But I'm so happy that we got a good result tonight. And it's really hard to do. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of guys struggle with it in real life, as well. And there's a lot of guys that, mentioned their struggles with it here. It's unpredictable. I mean, it was a valiant run. And I do want to give credit to somebody, Drew Williams. I mean, he broke a toe link. He got wrecked twice tonight. And the fact that I'm pretty sure he's going to come above the cut line in ninth. That's pretty remarkable, to go from back-to-back finish. I think if you were in the other car that you guys ran in the summer, well, actually, maybe not in the Gen 4. I think the Gen 4 may have been okay for damage. But if you were in another car, like the Trucker Xfinity car a few months ago, oh boy, once you wreck once, you're done. Thank God this next gen is a little bit durable.
Absolutely. It's certainly nice to have that little bit extra durability to lean back on, especially on these super speedway races. But Tim, excuse me, I got one question for you here. I know like looking at the point situation, you're trying to help a teammate. You've already got the win going into to get you into Homestead. Was there any part of you coming to the checkered flag that wanted to make a move and try and steal that win away, make it 2 in a row, sweep the super speedway races on season?
So this is going to be funny when I talk about this, because when we were covering the last green white checkered, I think about 4, 5, maybe 6 people queued up saying like, "Oh, I know you and Matt are friends and all, but you can always wreck them. You can always, pass them." And
I'm glad that their first thought was wreck and not pass.
Yeah. So and I'm like, how much you gonna pay me for that? But overall, I mean, there was definitely, there's always a thought. Again, I want to win. But when I think bigger picture, another one I want to give credit to, O'Brien, did a great job today. I'm going to be honest with you. I tried to lift to let him get down there down the backstretch. I didn't just try out to flat out ditch him. I understand that there's a lot of these guys racing for the championship, and I have a lot of respect for these guys in the final 10, racing for something. As much as Matt's a Nexus teammate, right? And I'm glad he won. He deserved tonight. Again, I mean, arguably he was one of the strongest guys during the summer, and I feel that he deserves to be in the championship with how consistent he's been throughout this entire season. But overall, listen, I wanted to give everybody a fair shake. Do I want to win? Absolutely. But, at the end of the day, I don't want to say I'm irrelevant in terms of what the rest of the playoff looks like. But if I win, yeah, it creates a little bit of chaos, for guys that, have to get on points. But I felt that I had to put myself in the position possible, in terms of protecting myself when I'm thinking about alumni championship. And to be honest with you, outside of the regular championship, of course, in 3 weeks when we go to Homestead, because I know we have a bye week for Thanksgiving. What is that, next week?
Yes,
I
sir.
think we have an off week next week. So, it's more of, yes, there was the temptation to pass. Obviously, helping a friend out is absolutely huge. But I really do think, thinking bigger picture is the most important thing when you're trying to race for a championship. And I feel also that earning that respect between both Matts. I know O'Brien went for a big move last week and didn't pan out, but getting to earn these respected guys to me is also important, because that comes back to you when you're talking about racing for a championship in 2-3 weeks, where, hey, this guy cut me a break, this guy put me in a spot. Hey, we're going to race hard, but we're not going to wreck each other for something. And I think that's an important factor that came into it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said.
Well, Tim, before we let you go on your way to celebrate with your Nexus Esports teammate and to celebrate your podium and your string of good finishes over the past few weeks, really, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go on your way?
Again, I know I say it every time I'm in here, but thank you guys in the booth, for doing what you guys do every week. I look forward to going to Michigan. It's another very good track of mine. To be honest with you, really, I'd say the playoff tracks overall probably, I don't want to say my 3 best tracks. I know Vegas was a good track for me that I looked forward to outside of Daytona, of course, on the schedule. But Michigan's another really good one that I love going to. It's just going to be Homestead, where I've got to work my heart out. But, you guys do an excellent job every week, covering this. And I'm sure when I go back and watch this race from start to finish to see what I can do better, from my perspective as a driver, I definitely know you guys give excellent insight that also really gives me better stuff to feedback that maybe I won't be able to see in the car. So I'm very appreciative of that, and I want to congratulate Matt again. He's a heck of a teammate. I'm glad he's my teammate on Nexus, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if I'd want to be racing against him. Racing against him, but you get what I mean. Thank God that's my teammate is more the way I put it, because he's good, he's talented, and as much as I could put him over as my teammate, but I'm serious. That kid's got it. And it's going to be fun. I don't know what, Clampen didn't show up tonight, so he's essentially in a must-win. When you look at guys that say, hey, they're championship material, they have natural talent, he comes right up there in the top of the list on this platform, in my opinion. And I can't say enough about him. I feel bad also for Drew. He had a lag in qualifying, so unfortunately, it'll be rolling down the future, where just playoff guy didn't make the race just because we had more than 43 entrants. It is what it is, but I'm proud of everybody, and I'm proud to represent Nexus Esports at Manhattanville College on getting some good points here this afternoon and trying to go for alumni championship, most importantly.
Well said, man. Congratulations on your second place. We look forward to seeing you in the booth again real soon, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, that was Tim Moore, our second place finisher. Always a joy to have Tim up here in the booth with us. He shows a lot of love to the people he was working with out there tonight, and you can clearly see that it worked out pretty well for all parties involved.
Absolutely. Lots of very, very good sportsmanship in that interview, which in CIL we do get quite a bit of, but it's very nice to see in the booth someone who's just so respectful of their competitors and their championship rivals. It's a very, very nice and refreshing thing to see. So that's very good. Very nice to see.
Yeah, and our last interview of the evening, bringing it home on the podium in his CIL College Cup Series debut, it's Oscar Enriquez from George Mason. Oscar, welcome to the booth. What a wild couple hours it must have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Just decided to make my debut like an hour before the session. Very, very quick decision to run this race.
Well, it seems to have worked out for you. You brought it home, third place in your debut. That is no easy feat in a field of 43 drivers. Tell me, what was it? What were you seeing out there? Because, you had some ground to make up, and you were kind of back and forth a little bit through the middle part of the race, and then once you got up there, you kind of stayed up there. What were you kind of seeing out there from your perspective?
Yeah, everyone raced a little differently than what I'm used to. Felt like it was a little more spread out, so I was able to make more aggressive. In the initial start, I got an EOL, got from P40 to like P10 in like 7. So I knew there was a lot of moving. I could move a lot through the field. So once I got the track position, was good on fuel, just stayed up there and pushed hard.
Oscar, my question for you: what were you expecting coming into the race? I know you said you registered just today and only just got into the race just a couple hours, or decided you were going to run the race just a couple hours before the session launched. What were your expectations? Were you hoping to be up here in the top 5, or is this coming as a little bit of a surprise to you, maybe?
Been doing a lot of plate racing lately, so I was hoping to bring it home a good finish or just win in general. So I feel good about my.
Absolutely, man. You ran incredibly well today. Just about had the win there, I think, before that last caution. You could have been up there battling for the lead. It was very close. Just unfortunate timing on that caution, man. Ran incredibly well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, last question for you. Just want to ask, do you think on that green-white checkered, could anything have gone differently to have gotten you into the winner's spot of the podium here?
But yeah, it was a little hard because the top two were with each other. There, I don't think I had much of a shot to win just because I played out, and like any last shot of kind of finished trial. The third car didn't make a move, so decided just to go on my own, see what I can do, go into the third lane. It was too late to do it.
Yeah, well, it did at least get you the one position, but ultimately bringing it home third place. I also want to briefly apologize. You were so new on the roster. There was 1 or 2 times at the start of the race I accidentally called you Mason Enriquez because I blended the school and the name. So I apologize for that. I got it right
That's pretty funny.
before long. But any final thoughts or people you want to shout out here before we let you go on your way tonight?
Shout out to Sky Shrek for introducing this league. Yeah, it's a very fun race. Thank you.
Cool, yeah. Well, hey, congratulations on the podium, and we hope to see you again in the booth real soon, Oscar.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, and that was Oscar Enriquez, our third place finisher tonight in his CIL debut, introduced to the league from a driver from the University of Oklahoma. So just goes to show just about anyone can find their way into the league at any given point in time here.
Absolutely. It's honestly pretty similar to how I got introduced to the league. I had no idea it even existed until my second year of college myself when Athena Leclerc introduced me to the league. So it's this and a really nice sort of networking excuse me, between different drivers on the sim that's really opens up a lot of really cool opportunities and introduce lots and lots of people to the league, which is very, very good for it. Bigger fields are always bigger fields, more guys to race with. It's always a good thing.
Not only is it more entertaining to have more folks in there, but also it just gives you an opportunity to meet new people, which is not necessarily the name of the game, but it's a fun side bonus that you get to have when you're a part of a league that is the size of the CIL. But with that, I say it's time for us to run down our final results tonight from the Alabama 199, and then we will look forward to the last couple races of the season. But let's take a look here. Obviously, Matthew Morton was our winner here tonight from Talladega. Tim Moore did bring it home in second, and then third was Oscar Enriquez from George Mason. Tim Robb battled back from a lot of early issues to finish fourth for American University, a huge points day for him in the playoff hunt. Colin Culpa with a solid top 5 for Indiana. Nick Stockner appears on the scene late. He'll bring it home sixth. Apparently, he gained 10 spots over the course of the green-white checkered to move up from 16th to 6th for Clemson. Matt O'Brien with a solid points day for Michigan Tech. He'll bring it home 7th for the Huskies. Edwin Onofre, 8th for the University of North Texas. Drew Williams battled back through a lot of adversity to finish 9th tonight. And Jason Wallet from Drexel had a shot late, but will ultimately finish 10th.
In 11th, we got Charles Wembley from Guilford College. I believe in one of his earlier races in the league. Ran very well today. Led a few laps, I believe. Comes home 11th. Benjamin Neller from Ball State University had a pretty quiet race. Comes home at a solid P12. Jared Kaler got involved in a couple accidents from UNC Charlotte. Come home P13. Nicholas Badimlik from St. John's has also a solid run, P14. And now Athena Leclerc from St. Clair was involved in some accidents earlier. Comes home 15th. Austin DeLong from Penn State, from Pennsylvania College, is going to come home P16. Also was involved in a wreck. A lot of these guys down here at this point of the field were Clint Halterman, also from UNC Charlotte, is going to come home 17th. Timothy Williams from Drexel is in 18th. Andrew Staggy from Ball State in 19th. And Jake Cummings, our pole sitter, is going to come home in 20th today.
Yeah, 21st is going to be Kelton Quick from Ball State. Arizona State's Garrett Vighton in 22nd. Zarin Bartholomew from St. Clair College, 23rd. A pair of Clemson drivers in 24th and 25th with Nathan Inman and Andrew Burrell. Alex Finnerty from UNC Charlotte will bring it home 26th. 27th will be Alex Hallinar from Binghamton University. Daniel Hunter will bring it home 28th for St. Clair College. And Edward Sanchez, the last car on the lead lap, in 29th for Baruch College, with Dylan Godinez from the Penn College of Technology finishing 30th.
Ryan Whitlock, in his return to the CIL Cup Series, is going to come home 31st, a lap down after suffering some issues. Major Monteveas from Texas A&M finishes 32nd. Jacob Weist from UNC Charlotte finishes 33rd. And Michael Sider, after having a solid run the first half of the race and getting collected in some inter-college accidents, is going to finish in 34th. Sky Shrek is going to be in 35th from the University of Oklahoma. Tristan LeClaire from St. Clair is going to be in 36th. Thomas Toomey from the University of Virginia is in 37th. Matthew Burton is going to from East Tennessee State University is going to finish in 38th. Muhammad Alif from Bell State is in 39th, and Zach Tallman is in 40th.
And 41st will be Lucas Moody. Robbie Vrabel Jr. with the early contact will bring it home 42nd. And Brandon Schulenberger will finish 43rd for Wingate University with Spencer Brown, Drew Jawad, Tyler Klingensmith, and Jonathan Egge, all DNQs. But with that has been our race here tonight at Talladega. Zach, any final thoughts about the race that was here tonight after these 75, actually probably more like 78 laps?
It was a pretty good show. These guys put on a really good race tonight. It looked like a lot of fun. I wish just a little bit I could have been out there. Maybe been up here talking to you again at the end of it.
Hey, you certainly could have been. You would have been the reigning race winner. You would have been one of the favorites going in, I'm sure. Ultimately, though, we had to settle for being up here just talking about the action as opposed to actually being involved in it ourselves. But with that being said, let's take a quick look ahead to some of the CIL action that's coming up on the calendar next. The final race of this round of the playoffs comes in 2 weeks' time. We are off next week for the Thanksgiving break. The next race will be November 27th at 9 p.m. for the Irish Hills 200 at Michigan International Speedway. It will be the last race of the playoffs before the championship race at Homestead a week later. Be sure to tune in for that. But we have one more race before we reach the Thanksgiving break here for the U.S. fans. And that is the historic Barcelona layout of the Spanish Grand Prix for the Formula College Series. It'll be rolling off November 15th. That is this Wednesday, same time, 9 p.m. Still a lot of points up for grab in the 2nd through 10th section of the standing, so be sure to tune in there. But until then, we want to thank you all so much for joining us here tonight. On behalf of everyone here at the CIL, our producers, co-commentator Zach, just want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I've been Alex Gagnon, and we will catch you next time.